Alright, welcome to this side-by-side comparison video. On the left-hand side is my lap of Spa-Francorchamps in the Lamborghini Huracan Group 3, and on the right is the lap of Metal Gear Metal Gear 9392, I don't remember what his name is, but anyway, Dan Holland, I'm sure you all know who I'm talking about. So I've tried to line these clips up as close as they can be side by side, and so we're going to go through and just have a review of the differences in our lap. So as we come down to the approach of the first turn, we'll see who gets on the brakes first, and actually it seems to be myself, but we're both braking from 213 kilometers per hour. Interesting to note that Dan only goes to fourth gear, whereas I have shifted up to fifth gear. So as we brake for the corner, we'll see what we scrub the speed down to. So we can see that I have come down to about 86 kilometers per hour at this point, where he is still at 91 kilometers per hour. And then I think it's just here as we reach the apex. Do we reach the same speed? No. So I drove all the way down to 66 kilometers per hour. He's at 70 kilometers per hour. And this is going to be a little bit of a theme throughout the lap, as we just see that Dan is able to carry more speed through the corners. So we both reach the apex at about the same time, maybe a couple of thousandths of difference. Yeah. So if we see just using the yellow here on the side, he's there at 8 seconds 449, and I get there at 8 seconds about 567. So it's about half a tenth of a second, right? Or over a tenth of a second. So just his ability to kind of carry that much more speed into the corner has already helped him out. And so we can see that Dan is starting to get full throttle, but he has a few little stabs on it, and I don't get into full throttle until this point right here. But at this point, we're actually doing a very similar speed. So 83 kilometers per hour versus 82 kilometers per hour. And, well, that might even be, I know, yeah, 82 kilometers per hour. Okay. So we'll hit play as we come down towards this bridge as we approach Eau Rouge, and we'll just pause it as we go under the bridge just to compare the exit speeds that we're both able to reach. So as we come over this line, you can see it's pretty close, but Dan has just pulled a little bit of a gap on me, but we're doing roughly the same speed, so that's another thing that I've noticed. I've already watched through this video once, and that's something I have noticed, that although Dan is able to carry the extra speed through the corners, we do generally end up having the same exit speeds and the same run down the straight. So as we approach Eau Rouge here, we'll see Dan hits the shadow at 21,849, and I hit the shadow at 21,900. So a little bit of a difference there of 0.06 of a second. So we both have the same speed as we go over the apex of that first little part of Eau Rouge, and although I keep the car completely flat and Dan has a little flutter of the throttle there a couple of times, we'll actually see that Dan is able to carry more speed through the corner just through a more gentle steering angle. You'll see I'm full lock here, whereas Dan is only about 90% lock. And so just that extra scrubbing of speed is the difference as we go through Eau Rouge, and then as we reach the exit of Radion there, although we're very close together, 25.749 versus, what's that, 2787, something like that. It's hard to say, sorry, the quality of these videos isn't that great. But we just flashed the ghost up there, and you see that's the difference between Dan and myself. Okay, so comparing the sector times, I do a 39.039 and Dan does a 38.975, so he has carried that advantage throughout the entire straight, and he has about 0.06 of a second advantage over me. So as we come into Les Combes, we're both at 260 kilometers per hour, and this is where Dan starts to brake. So he brakes a little bit before the curb, and I also brake just that little bit before the curb. And so as we go past the 50 kilometer area. He's down to 211 already, whereas I am at about 215. So he's a little bit sharper on the brakes than what I am in the initial phase of the corner. And although we both kind of seem to let off of the brakes at about the same time, he actually goes fully off for a little bit and then applies it back on, whereas I'm just trailing off quite nicely. But as we hit the apex here of the corner, we'll just use this green AstroTurf on the inside. You can see that Dan just has 7 kilometers per hour over me at the apex of the corner. And then he's just going to carry that speed through the entire length of Licum. And so he takes a little bit more curb there on the left-hand side compared to what I do. But as we go round through the exit, we are both on full throttle at basically the exact same time. And so if we just slow it down here and look at the time difference, so Dan has reached this piece of AstroTurf at 48.249, and I'm going to reach it at about 48.367. So down to about a tenth of a second now loss. And so this is a corner which is a particular weakness for me. This downhill right-hander, we're going to see that Dan is going to hug the curb on the right-hand side much, much closer, whereas I stay out wider. This is simply because anytime I get so close to the curb, I find that the back end just steps out a lot, and I can't get the power down very smoothly at all. And so Dan is going to carry more speed through the corner, just a couple of kilometers per hour, and we'll see he starts to get on the throttle at roughly the same time as what I am, although at this point we're both just balancing the car, I would say, and we'll see when he goes into full throttle. He starts to go full throttle just before the end of the shadow, and I'm still waiting. I'm not full throttle until this point here, so obviously, yeah, he's just going to pick up that little, sorry about that little bit of extra time on me there, and so that allows him to make it out onto the edge of this curb, which is able to kind of, it bounces the car, helps you turn in and rotate the car for this next left-hander, this very tricky left-hander. And you can see that as we reach the AstroTurf there on the left-hand side, Dan is at 1 minute 3.616, and I don't reach it until 1 minute 3.8, or sorry, 1 minute 3.9. So we've already just lost a huge amount of time just in those two corners. And yeah, so we'll come through this corner and then we'll let it play. And actually, yeah, if you take a look at just the exit of this curb as we reach the AstroTurf there, Dan is at 179. What do I reach? Okay, 178. So again, he's able to carry more speed through the corner, but I do seem to pick up on the exit just as well as what he is able to. So we'll come through to Pehun here. Very tricky corner, especially in the MR cars. Dan is going to drop down to about 178 kilometers per hour, whereas I drop down all the way down to 170. So hugely, huge difference in the apex speeds there. And so as we reach the exit of Pehun, we'll just take a look there at the curb. Dan is at 226 kilometers per hour, whereas I'm at 225. So once again, more speed through the corner, but we tend to come out of the corners at about the same rate of knots. And so as we come up to this next series of corner, I'm just going to kind of reset the clip and get us back even again. So from this point on, my lap time is a little bit behind Dan's, but we've evened it up just so we can get a closer side-by-side comparison. So as we enter the corner, we're both at about the exact same speed. We're both just going to drop down to third gear. I see some people go down to second gear here, but I don't really think it's worth it. Just unstabilizes the car. And we'll see that Dan, he is able to once again carry about 5 kilometers extra speed through the corner than what I am. And he gets on the throttle a little bit earlier. I'm also full throttle just here in the middle, and I actually end up gaining up to 142, so I guess he just got on the throttle a little bit too early and got some wheel spin. But you're going to see that he carries on full throttle for just a very fraction longer than what I am. So I'm going to lift off right here as I start to prepare for this left-hander, whereas Dan keeps it flat and just gains a massive amount of speed, just like, 7 kilometers per hour. So as we come up to this left-hander, Dan's going to carry, just 3 or 4 kilometers per hour more speed through the entry of the corner. By the time we both kind of reach the exit here on the left, he's down at 142, I'm, at 141, so we both get on full throttle there at about the same time. But yeah, just the extra time he gains just by having that, moment extra of full throttle is really what makes the difference between a driver like himself and a driver like me. So this tricky right-hander here, again, just a few kilometers per hour difference, but it's just those small differences which make all the difference. So we both take about the same amount of curb on exit. So some very gentle lifts for Dan, whereas I have a much larger lift, or almost down to about 40% throttle before getting back on throttle. But I do get on throttle just that little bit earlier, which is going to help. But he does have a 5 kilometer per hour speed advantage at that point. So as we hit that kind of last bollard, he's at 183. I am at 181. And then as we go through the exit, he takes a little bit more curb on the exit just because I guess he had that greater corner speed. And as we reach this shadow here, 203 kilometers per hour for Dan and 203 kilometers for myself. So next corner coming up is Blanchimont. 250 k's per hour for Dan going into it, 250 k's for myself. He holds 248 for the corner. Mine drops down to 247, but it's basically even throughout there. Dan has stayed in 5th gear. I've gone up to 6th gear, actually. And so once again, I'm just going to reset the clips, and now we're about back to being even. And I've actually gained an extra kilometer per hour on the straight, I think just because I shifted up to 6th gear. It gave me that little bit extra top speed, and we'll see how that makes a difference as we come into the bus stop. So we're both going to brake at roughly the exact same time. Maybe Dan's just a tiny bit earlier on the brakes than me. You can see he's already down to 248. And so as we reach the curb here on the left, I've actually approached the curb quicker than what he is. So I've gained some time under braking there at 191 kilometers per hour. He's already scrubbed off speed down to 184. And then we're going to turn into the corner because he downs Ghost there. He takes a lot of curb. So it's interesting to note that although he scrubbed off more speed on the entry to the corner under the initial braking zone, he's now carried more speed into the apex. And so he hits this curb. So even though I reached the apex of the corner first, Dan's going to hit that curb, and then he's going to have this moment of full throttle here, which is going to just shoot him right up to 83 kilometers per hour, whereas I'm at 76. I don't get any more than kind of 30-40% throttle, and I'm just using the throttle to stabilize the car. And so as we go in for this turn-in of the second part of the bus stop, although I'm still just ahead, he has made up all of that difference through that first initial braking moment. And so he's going to carry this more speed through the second part of the bus stop, but that means that I'm able to get on the throttle earlier than what he is, and I kind of make it up. So we're both going to come out and kind of get in a straight line at basically identical speeds. And yeah, look how close that is. It's more or less identical as to how we took that corner in terms of time, even though it was very different in how we took it in terms of method. So yeah, that's the difference between the laps. So as we can see, the main difference is Dan's just, more confident in taking speed into the corners. He carries that apex speed, and although I can kind of match him on the exit, that initial corner speed is just all that matters, and that's where he was able to gain 9/10 of a second throughout the course of the lap. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed that video as much as I enjoyed discovering and making it myself. And yeah, sorry about the low quality, but it's very difficult to record from my screen at any kind of high resolution. But yeah, okay, so see you next time.